What is the summary of Rich Dad, Poor Dad? Well, in 1996 is when I met the team. I flew to Sharon Lecter's house, made a deal, and walked out that day as the master distributor of the cash flow game. So they got busy putting the Rich Dad, Poor Dad on the map as a book and becoming a world-level bestseller. And what I love about the Rich Dad, Poor Dad story is, one, it's kind of a myth. But it's really cool to think, well, I want rich people in my life, and I'm going to atrophy the poor people out of my life. The most important thing for me was it allowed me to jump out of Chevron and being an exercise physiologist, building fitness centers all around the world for them, to being able to actually jump into this space. Rich Dad, Poor Dad is also one of those, I'm going to say, annual reads, just like I think Think and Grow Rich is. I think Rich Dad, Poor Dad is, and I honestly think you need to put this, and these 3 books should be read on a regular basis to just keep your financial savvy every year up and to running. So the 3 things I want to talk about are, what are the fundamental lessons of Rich Dad, Poor Dad? The next thing, how do you build a strong team? And then the last is, how do you apply some of those lessons in the context of the 3 to 5 year Millionaire Maker plan? So the rich dad mentality is really what needs to come across, is whether you had a rich, dad, rich mom, however you want to say it, it's really, how do wealthy people think? So if you go back to Think and Grow Rich, right, there's usually a burning desire, there's specialized knowledge, you're always in a mastermind, there's a way that we behave. And I can tell you the fastest way to do this is you got to hang out with us. There's no other way to learn it. At 21 years old, I was blessed. I got to go to Bob Proctor's house, and he showed me what living that life looks like, how other people support the family. You're not washing dishes. You're not cleaning your house. You're not going to get your own groceries. You're not going to get your own dry cleaning. You're not doing that stuff. Because what are you doing all day? You're focusing on making money, investing money, and keeping your taxes low and overseeing your team. So I learned early. So like my family living joke is, you don't even know where the vacuum cleaner is. And I said, yeah, and I don't care. Like, that's not my job. And it's not a less than job, because who does it for me? Most of my life are phenomenal, and that's their company. That's what they do. That is their cash machine. This is my cash machine. And I think a lot of you think that being self-sufficient and having it all, being a sole proprietor and doing it yourself, is a strong position. I think it's the most suffering position, because you can't do it all. There's too much to learn, too much to do. So which brings me to the next point of the whole Rich Dad fundamentals, which is the team. You've got to have a team. And so early in my work with them, Robert and Sharon put together the Rich Dad advisory team. So I was a cash flow girl, right? Keith Cunningham was there, Dolph Drews was there, Diane Kennedy was there, Garrett Sutton was there, the original crew. Everybody did books except for me with them. Keith didn't do any books with them, I don't believe. Doesn't matter. I love the concept. I got it. Just picked the wrong people. We all wanted our own run. And in that model, Robert was the only one who really wanted to be at the helm. And we're like, yeah, but we all have a lot to contribute. So anyway, it all disseminated. But as I went on my own in 2000, 2001, I thought, I need to recreate that model of having a team. So I'm going to stay here, the guide, the educator, the advocate of all the content. And I'm going to put a team of the greatest tax strategists, corporate structure, corporate compliance, trust, funding, crypto, real estate, franchising, you name it. I have experts. I have 28 of them that I can call on. They're in all sorts of countries in the world, and that's what they do. So when you actually can integrate a team, right, which is my job to teach you how to put together teammates. Because a lot of you made me think about it. Right now, if you just took a little pause and said, who's on your wealth team? Most of you would say, I have an accountant and maybe a lawyer, or I have an accountant and a financial planner, or I have an accountant and an insurance person. Well, do they all talk? Do you have an estate lawyer? Do you have a banker? And some of you are like, a banker? Yeah, because when you want to buy stuff, you better have a banker who knows good lenders. So there's a whole formula to putting it together. But, the financial services world, it was built this way. It's not broken, but it's built to be segregated. So here's you standing in the middle of the most sophisticated conversation of your life, and you don't know how to navigate the team. So that's what I saw in the fundamentals of the Rich Dad, Poor Dad brand, is somebody has to be the glue. Someone has to teach this integration of how do you put the team together and how do you have them execute on your behalf, not on some formula that helps them, on formula that helps you. So that's what we do different, and that's how we've done it for 25 years. We're going on 25th anniversary next year. 2025 will be our 25th anniversary of what we do to integrate you and your team. Now, if this is interesting to you, from 5 years old and up in your household and everyone you know, I want you to subscribe to the channel. I want you to click that notification button, watch every video. You got to consume this content. We are so aligned to the Think and Grow Rich, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. A lot of, the big players, Zig Ziglar's, that all of their work, Brian Tracy's work. So any of us, with like Bob Proctor, we're all in the same lane of how do you become wealthy. Like the Susie Orman, the Dave Ramsey's, the financial institutes are how to keep you small, safe, and live within your means. Why don't you grow your means and become a millionaire? So that brings me to my last point, which is how do you do a 3 to 5 year millionaire? Well, you're going to read the first 3 chapters of the book. You're going to do a gap analysis. You're going to talk to our team. Then you're going to say, yes, I want to be a client and I want Loral to mentor me and her whole team. And then I'm going to do a sequence call, which is the next chapter. And then we're going to go. And we're going to just step by step put this team around you to support you for the legacy of your lifetime. So can't wait to help. If you have any questions, go to askloral.com, ASKLORAL. And if you need to get refreshed, go reread Think and Grow Rich, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and the Millionaire Maker in its entirety. You're going to have a lot of questions. So go to askloral.com, ask a question, make a request. I'll be back tomorrow.